Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 560 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous, Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, being an entrepreneur is really the only lifestyle for me because I enjoy working on my own schedule and I know that I'm going to work around the clock whenever work needs to be done in order to move the company forward. Now, that's both a blessing and also a curse because you might be sacrificing time with family and friends along the way. Time management is the key to success for every single entrepreneur, and our next guest knows that all too well. Jill Wright is an award-winning speaker and coach who helps working professionals and students take control of their time, reclaim their energy, and build sustainable self-care practices to thrive in every part of life. She figured out a system that allowed her to tweak the traditional time management advice to fit her unique needs, personality, and circumstances. Now she helps others do the same. She wakes up every day to the best version of herself, working on her own schedule and moving through life with confidence and clarity. You can claim the joyful, aligned life you want, and Jill is here to help you get there. Welcome to the show, Jill.
Mike, I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. Certainly, time management is something that all of the college students who are listening right now, they are struggling with and trying to figure it out. So I think you're going to be able to help them quite a bit. Now, before we get to all of that, I know that you decided on McMaster University, which is located in Hamilton, Ontario. Why did you decide that McMaster was the right place for you?
That's such a great question. And I think for me at the time, it was just far enough away from my hometown of Ottawa that it was within driving distance, but my parents couldn't come for lunch. You know what I'm saying? That was the motivation. Also, if I'm being super honest, my high school boyfriend lived just in the next town over. So when I was considering universities, I knew I wanted to go to business school. And so I chose three of the best business schools in Ontario to apply for and got accepted to all three. And I thought, okay, well, what are the tipping points here? And it was like the two that I mentioned there.
It's
Yeah.
always about a boy for some reason. It always comes
Funny,
down
eh?
to a boy. How did that work out, by
It
the way?
didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah.
You see people like rearrange their lives and then suddenly it doesn't even work out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is what happens when you're young and you're in love. This is how it all plays
Totally.
out. So you've talked about the guilt that you felt trying to pursue these big dreams while also being present for your family. And I totally get it. I have a couple of kids right now. They're actually in college, so that's kind of fun. But many college students feel the same tension between academic success, that's certainly important, all of the social expectations that they have at college, as well as their future goals. So, what advice do you have for students who are navigating all of these internal conflicts?
Yeah, it's a lot, right? There's a lot of expectations and there's a lot of opportunities. Because so we want to do it all. We want to participate. We want to have our friendships, our social circles. We want to perform well in our academics because we're paying to be there most of the time. And it's setting ourselves up for our future. So not only are we focused on present, we're all also focused on future, right? And we may not in the past have been set up with the foundational tools to be able to manage it all. And I know that that's certainly the case here in Canada. Time management's not taught in high schools and a lot of parents don't even know how to manage their time, so they can't give that skill to their kids. So, I mean, for me, the one piece of advice that I always like to offer is to look really deeply into the personal circumstance you have because it's going to be different from your neighbor, from your best friend, from, the kid down the road. What you have on the go, the season you're in, the amount of support you have, the obligations you have, the free time you have, if you have like ADHD or a neurodivergent brain or not, so many factors can play into the best way for you to manage your time. Something that I find is universally helpful is looking ahead to the following week by week, just sort of moving through life with this lens of like, okay, do I have capacity next week for extras? Is it a heavy week? What's my energy going to be like? as opposed to day by day planning, because that can get really in the weeds.
Yeah, makes total sense. I like that a lot. The other thing that I'm really concerned about is just self-care. And I'm wondering how can all the young people who are listening right now start building those healthy self-care habits in their life right now, even when their schedules feel totally packed and completely unpredictable.
Yeah, this is the hard point because people come to me all the time. They're like, Jill, I love the idea of self-care. Like, it sounds great, but I don't have time. And I'm like, I get it. I'm a mom. I've got 4 kids. I run a business. Like, I get it. The the piece I'll offer today is a really fun, easy to remember tactic, and it's called time confetti. I didn't make this up. I wish I had. I talk about it all the time. Time confetti is the 5 to 10 minute moments throughout the day that we all experience. And most of the time, we just pick up our phone and like scroll them away.
Mhm.
But if we can instead use these 5 or 10 minute periods for self care, for regulating our nervous system, for doing the things that really fill us up, this idea we've all heard of having a full cup, right? In order to get there, you don't need to spend a weekend away at the spa. You don't need to go and like have a 1 hour bubble bath every week at a specific time. The better thing to do is keep yourself consistently like topped up. Keep your cup consistently at a level where you're feeling good, where you have the energy and the momentum that you want. And to do that, I always say create a little list on your phone. You know, we have a device in our pocket all the time that allows us to make a little note. We make a list there of things that feel for us, again, personally, really rejuvenating, really nourishing. It can be anything from like going outside in nature to having a great cup of tea, voice noting a friend, picking up a book, having a nap. Like your list will depend on you specifically, but getting good at in those moments of time confetti, realizing you're in it, first of all, and referring to your list and saying, well, what can I do in this moment while I have it? Sometimes it's pumping the gas in my car, and I'm like, okay, I can practice some gratitude right now and really ground myself. Finding those
Mhm.
moments and using them wisely.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to realize you're in that moment too. I mean, it's part of it is that recognition. And I think you're right in that we're all conditioned to just pick up our phone. I know I'm totally guilty of this. I'll just start scrolling away. And instead, I should be looking at a note to figure out what rejuvenates me instead of just mindlessly doom scrolling on
But
social
you know
media.
what? Sometimes scrolling or like looking at cute cat videos,
Hmm.
that can be really rejuvenating. The difference is whether it's mindless or intentional,
Right.
right? We get the value from it if we're like, okay, I am using this time for a giggle. I need a laugh right now, right? But checking in and seeing, is that really what you need? Or do you need some social connection? Or do you just need a moment of quiet? Or do you need to connect to nature or see the sun, right? These moments pop up all the time and you're bang on that it's realizing you're in them, right?
Hmm.
It can
Hmm.
be when your food is heating up in the microwave at lunch. Like that's 2 minutes. That's not nothing.
Right. It's something. You could do something in there. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit more about time management because you discovered this time management system that you think is different from this traditional hustle culture that all of us are in. So, how can students customize these time management tools to actually work for them?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So my approach is holistic time management. So I consider productivity. I'm a big, like, I want to get a lot done. I've got big dreams. I'm a mover and a groover. Like, I love getting stuff done. But we also need to consider the rest. So we look at productivity and we look at rest, and we sort of reframe rest as a productivity tool. And so how this works for you is going to depend on like your productivity style. I have a quiz on my website. It's just jillwright.ca/quiz. And if you go there, it's like a, I don't know, 7 question, super fun little quiz. You get your type and like 3 tips that can really help start the ball moving because I find, yes, there are hundreds of time management tips and we can get bogged down, and people often do. If you give them too much information, right? We want to start small. We want to try like one thing and see if it feels good. See if it works for you. See if it works for you right now. It might be a tool you want to save for a different season when your exam schedule isn't so hectic, or maybe on, in the summertime when you're not in school as much and you have more time at work or whatever the case. But the idea is taking 1 or 2 things to start with that are going to be specifically designed for your type based on the quiz and just seeing, just testing it out and full permission to ditch it if it doesn't feel right then, right?
The other thing that I think about too is boundaries. And I think it's really easy for us to say, well, in order to be really good at time management, you have to set boundaries with your families, with your friends, with all of these other obligations that you have on campus. It could be a student organization like a fraternity or a sorority. But what do you say to the student who feels selfish for doing so, for prioritizing their own needs or setting those boundaries up with friends, family, or other student organizations?
That's a celebration in my view, because
Mm,
so many of us can't get there. Like so
right.
many of us are stuck in this people pleasing, can't say no. We want to say yes all the time. We want to be liked. We want to be everything to everyone, right? And so if you're in that spot where you figured out how to say no, whether by necessity or by intention, I
Mm,
mean, that is something to be celebrated. And if we can reframe looking at setting a boundary instead of it being you putting up a wall and saying no to someone, think of it instead as a way that you're expressing to someone your need and giving them an opportunity to meet you, right? And so it just shifts a little bit the way that we look at it and how we feel about it, because boundaries can feel really heavy, they can feel hard. And oftentimes when we're first starting them, we'll swing to the one end of the pendulum and we'll be like really hard on our boundaries. And then we piss everybody off. And then we eventually come back and we're like, no, okay, I went too far. I'm going to give a little bit more. The goal is to find our way in the middle where we feel comfortable doing it without the guilt. And I think we can alleviate a lot of the guilt when we realize saying no to something opens up space for something that is actually important to you, right? And you are able to show up as the best version of yourself in your relationships, in all of your roles, when you're sort of living your life in integrity with what's important to you and aligned with your values. And that's where the boundaries can come in.
mm. That's tough for somebody who's a real people pleaser. I think it might be a little bit easier said than done to
Yeah.
say no. That's, one type of student. The other type of student that I see out there is the one who's literally drowning all of the time, but they struggle to ask for help. And that could be academically, where they're struggling with some kind of class on campus, could be emotionally, or even struggling in a leadership role. So, what helped you to overcome that fear? And how can our college students who are listening start doing the same thing?
Yeah, asking for help is a big one because it has been taught to us, whether it's like verbally or just from us watching in society what the cultural norm is, that we shouldn't need help, that we should be able to do it all, that we're expected to just know how to do everything, do it well, and if it's hard, it's supposed to be hard. We just work harder, and if we ask for help, that can be a sign of weakness. At least that's how many of us feel, and so it's a big deal to reach out and say like, this is too much. I need to delegate something or I need support here. Um, the first step, I think, really is figuring out which piece of the puzzle you can outsource almost, right? Where in your list of obligations and to-dos and activities is something that doesn't necessarily need to be done by you, that you could bring in some support, and figuring out first where that support's going to come from, right? It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a community group. You could literally just ditch something. That is a way of asking for help as well. Just saying, like, no, I don't have time for this thing. But for me, the biggest piece was realizing that the people I'm asking to help me are generally the ones who have a vested interest in my happiness. They are the ones who are going to want to help me and see me succeed. And so viewing it less as I need your help. This is, I'm bad, you're good, you're stepping in to save the day. Seeing it more as I am providing an opportunity to someone who appreciates, loves, and values me to help me, to give them a sense of purpose, and they can really get a lot of value in their own life from being a support, from being a part of a community, from lifting people up. It's human nature. People like to help other people, and giving them an opportunity to do that and viewing it like that um, can change, can can make it just a little bit easier to break that barrier. And practice is the way to do it. Just keep asking.
You're so right. I mean, I love helping others. There's something about that that just gives me a lot of satisfaction to see them being really successful with just a tiny nudge in a certain direction. So yeah, I enjoy helping. I mean, why not? If you can and it doesn't like cost you anything, why wouldn't you? I don't know. To me, it just seems, totally normal. The other thing that you mentioned earlier, you talked about, writing this note to yourself so that way essentially for you how you can spend some of those moments that you have during the day and refill your cup, but it's unique to each person. So you're aligning all of your habits to your own personality, your own circumstances. Is there one powerful habit that college students can start building right now that you think would benefit them even 10 years from now?
Yes. And I think it's back to what I said earlier in the episode is that weekly planning.
Hmm.
We want to make sure that we have a sense of what's coming. I heard a great quote the other day that time management is like chess. The pros always think a few moves ahead. And it really stuck with me. And it's so true that it's the difference between whether we're just floating along and letting the current take us, or if we're like in a canoe with a paddle being like, okay, this is hard and I have a plan, or I know what's coming up next. So I can either conserve my energy or go full force at it, depending on what you see coming ahead. And the reason that a week is a really good period of time to look at is because each day is so different. When you look at a day, a Monday could be way different than a Saturday. Every Wednesday, every second Wednesday might be really busy for you. And so looking at them individually doesn't give you the full picture. What we really want to do is look at 168 hours, the full week. Usually things sort of smooth out. There's a bit of that bell curve effect with how busy you are, right? And if you are looking at a week that feels really busy, get in the habit of trying to schedule things into the first couple days, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because three reasons for this. It allows you then to add some extra things if you crush it and you get everything done that you wanted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, you can go back to that running to-do list that we all have and add a couple more things in, right? You can really feel accomplished. More often than not, though, what happens is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday go sideways. Something comes up and you don't get the things that you wanted to get done. And if you didn't leave room at the end of the week with some space to move things around, those things aren't going to get done and you feel like a failure and everything is awful and it's stressful and overwhelming. But if you leave some space at the end of your week that's open, you can have some flexibility within those 7 days to shift and to flow, which can feel really good. And then the third reason I like to say front load the week is because if it's super stressful and you give it all you got, at least you can rest Thursday and Friday knowing that you got the important things done early in the week. So it takes a little bit of that guilt off. It's sort of built in buffers at the end of the week.
Yeah, great tips. And I'm certainly a planner. I have like this old school planner that I've been using every year for like the last 10 years. It's the same planner. I keep going back to buy the same brand, and I'll actually write in exactly what I'm going to be doing every single day of the week. And I can look forward, I can look backward, and it's really, really helpful for me. I know everybody is saying, well, you can do all of this on your phone. Yes, you can. There's no question about it, but there's something about pen to paper that actually helps me to get these things accomplished. So for me, it works. Just find some way to be really organized about your time, and I think that's going to help a great deal. I've been doing it probably since I was in college, and it's just worked out really, really well for me. So hopefully that helps. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, in that last answer, but what's your strategy when things don't go as planned? When you fall off your routine, when you miss your goals for the week, or maybe you just feel stuck?
Mhm. This happens so often to everyone. Like, I'm an expert in time management, and this happens to me all the time because it's life, right? So I think the first thing is a bit of grace with ourselves, understanding that we can plan till the cows come home, and life will give us what it gives us. And we need to be agile to be able to go with the flow and not beat ourselves up too much if we don't experience the week that we planned, because realistically, it's not going to happen, at least
Mm,
not every single week. So something that I like to do is use some sort of prioritizing tool. If I know that my time is going to be stretched or compressed in some kind of way, and I'm not going to be able to get everything done that I wanted to, prioritizing it is the easiest way. You can do that a couple of ways. Go ahead and look up the Eisenhower matrix. It's something Stephen Covey talks about in his 7 Habits for Highly Effective People also, and it's a way of looking at things on your list and thinking, are they urgent? Are they important? And based on if they're urgent, important, or one of each or neither, it places the to-do in a quadrant. And from there, you can really easily see what are the things that truly need to be done now. Because if you're not using some sort of prioritizing tool, if everything is important, nothing is important. It's
mm.
so hard to figure out, okay, this week just went, sideways and I can't get it all done. what do I do? Where do I start? You need a prioritizing tool. So that one's a really handy one that
Mhm.
I like to offer. And just realizing that we have some level of control over how the life goes and how we spend our time. And then there's also this piece of just life and allowing yourself a bit of grace to flow with it. Because there's nothing you can do often, and we're all in the same boat. You're not the only person whose life went sideways this week.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I have to remember that this week was one of those weeks where there's just a whole bunch of tornadoes coming through the center of the United States, and suddenly I'm just not sleeping, right? All of a sudden we have these alarms that are going off at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning. Guess what? When you're woken up like that numerous times throughout the night, and you know this as a parent, any parent can identify with this because we've all been there where just your night's sleep totally goes sideways. And then are you normal and healthy and functioning properly that next day? Probably not. And so sometimes you just got to give yourself grace and just say, you know what? Listen, it is what it is. It's completely out of my control. I'm doing the best that I possibly can in this scenario, and we'll get it tomorrow. Like, you know,
There's always tomorrow.
there's always tomorrow, and there will be another day. And a lot of people are suffering with the same problem too. I think that's another really helpful way to put things into perspective, to understand that, you know what, there's a whole bunch of people that are in the center of the United States that are dealing with all kinds of problems. And guess what? Some of them, their problems are way worse than yours. I just have to say that. It's really, really important. And just to feel blessed in a certain way. Like, yeah, was that inconvenient? Yes. Was there any damage to my home? No. Okay, good. Like that's a win right there. You know?
And bringing in the community of other people around you,
Yeah.
right? Like understanding, yes, you're not alone in this, but also like lean on each other,
Hmm.
right? Create little groups, whether it be accountability groups or study groups or whatever the case, support groups for when you're trying to go out in the world and accomplish something or, you know, whatever you have in your life, in your world, in your calendar, there are other people with the same interests who are working towards the same thing. And the power in aligning with like-minded people can be completely transformational. And the support that you get, even just from knowing that they're there, it really, really um, creates some space, some mental space.
Yeah, in college, I know those study groups are really, really helpful because then it's not just you, right? It's others who are also struggling with the content that they're trying to learn. And you're basically like, do you get this? And then the other person's like, no, absolutely not. So right there, there's a sense of relief to saying, oh my God, good. It's not just me that feels totally lost in this moment. And so then we can support each other. But if you're just off by yourself and you're thinking, oh my God, the world is coming down, I must be the only one who's going to fail this exam or not be able to pull off this assignment. And then you find out, oh, everybody else is just like me. Okay. So, yeah, there's something that certainly helps to release some anxiety there. So, I completely agree. I think one of those things that have helped me throughout my career in higher ed, even up to the doctorate level, by the way, we're not even just talking about just as an undergrad, but just having that community, having that support, and just feeding off of each other, helping each other, and listening. I think that is something that would help a lot of our listeners. So this has been great. I've really enjoyed it. Now, I do get to Canada every now and then. As somebody who went to school at the University of Buffalo, I will tell you that my fraternity brothers and I ended up on the other side of the border, on the northern side, just because the drinking age was significantly lower. So we ended up having a good time in Canada and spending a lot of money there, which is great. So the next time I find myself in Ottawa, where do you think I should go for a great bite to eat?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. And as a mama of four, I don't get out that often anymore. It makes me feel extremely old and ancient when you ask me this. You know what though? Just in general, the Byward Market in our downtown core is the
Uh-huh.
place. That is the vibrant, like youthful, both our universities are nearby,
Yeah.
and that is the place to go for all things good food, good energy, good entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of choices there, and that sounds like the perfect place for me to go and check out. So anywhere the college students are, that's typically where I want to go. And I know there's going to be a ton of college students hanging out there, so that's really fun. All right, so if our listeners, if they want to bring you into their college campus to speak and talk about all of these things that we talked about here today, where can they go to connect with you?
My website's probably the best place. It's jillwright.ca because I am Canadian,
Mhm.
and you can reach out to me there by email or fill in the little contact me form, and we can get that conversation started.
That sounds good. So it's jillwright.ca. Go and check out all of the website and all of the things so that way you can connect with Jill and then she can give you the tips that you need in order to move forward in life and make sure that you claim that joyful, the alignment that you're looking for, and just move through life with the confidence and clarity that Jill has today. Thanks so much for joining us here. Thank you, Jill. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Jill, I want you to like it and I want you to share it on social media with other students who are struggling right now. And I think that this could be what helps them. So we appreciate you being here and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.